It's a great pleasure for us this evening to introduce you to a lady called Anna Rosenburg, who's an author who's just written the most fabulous book. And I'll read you what it says on the back, basically to give you a little bit of background about our guest this evening. Until she was 7 years old, Anna Rosenburg was a very happy girl. She lived a simple life in a 2-room flat with her devoted father. In Anna's world, there was very little to worry about until a wealthy, high-minded pillar of society across the road decided that it really wasn't right for a little girl to be brought up by a poor father on his own. Telling Anna that they were going for a drive in the country, she took her away to live in a children's home. The devastation of this betrayal and the loss of regular contact with her father completely destroyed Anna's very young world. Her unhappiness was compounded by her confusion over her own identity. What did her black skin mean? Why wasn't it the same colour as her father's? Where did she come from? And who was she really? Well, here to tell us more is Anna Rosenburg. It's a delight to welcome you into the studio, Anna. Thank you very much for joining us this evening.
Thank you. Good evening.
Now, tell us about your book. What's the story, Anna?
The story really is of exactly what you've been taken away as a young person, put into care for 11, 12 years. The effect it had on me, the mental effect it had on me really, with my mental health.
Sure.
The struggle I went through, having been loved for 7 years, and they didn't really believe in love where I lived.
Where were you living at the time, Anna?
What, before I went into care?
No, yeah. When you were
I was
with your
living
dad.
in Camden Town.
In London?
Yeah.
So this happened
happily.
in London?
Oh yes. Yeah, quite happy. I was a very happy child.
So, were you abducted?
No, not at all. What happened is my father was bringing me up on his own.
Yeah.
And as you rightly said, the woman across the way decided that a male should not bring up a young girl on his own. My father was a very, very working class man. This woman was quite a well-to-do American, well-educated woman.
Right.
And my father believed what she said, basically.
Okay. Now, you mentioned that you struggled with your identity. You're mixed race, Anna.
Yes, I am.
And your father was?
Okay, my my birth father was a black American.
Okay.
My mother was Irish.
Right, okay. May I ask you, where was your mum when you were a little girl?
Which mother are we talking about?
Okay.
My birth mum. Well,
yeah.
I was adopted.
Right.
Sorry, I was adopted.
You were adopted from
I was adopted
a baby.
from as a baby, yes.
Okay.
Yes, I was adopted.
So your black American father...
he probably doesn't know me, I don't know him.
Right.
It was one of those situations, it was 1949, Cold War, the Americans were over here.
Yeah.
Usual thing.
Yeah.
In point of fact, most of us mixed race kids, we were called mongrels, in point of fact.
Really?
And they wanted to sort of palm us out to the countryside and get rid of us somehow. But in fact, my birth mother knew my adopted father and mother.
Yeah.
And so I was adopted by them, which was a good thing.
So you were adopted by this chap here that you mentioned until you were 7.
Yes.
So what happened to your adopted mother then?
My adopted mother left my adopted father.
Right, okay, left him holding the baby.
Yes, literally holding the baby.
Right,
literally
okay.
holding the baby.
And then this American lady intervened.
And then she intervened. She decided that, this can't happen, etc. What are we going to do when she gets breasts, periods, all of this sort of thing?
Right.
And my father, he was just a regular working class guy.
Okay.
He worked on the market, and he worked as a tic-tac at the races.
Yeah.
And I guess he just believed her, really.
Yeah. And it must have been a very big struggle for him as well.
It was a struggle for him.
It
was a struggle for him, but I was a child on the street like all the kids were. I went to school like the kids did. I was a happy 7-year-old.
Yeah.
Very, very loved.
Yeah.
Very loved.
Anna, can I ask you just the title of the book, Who Am I Really? Did that come whilst you were writing the book, or was this something you decided, no, this is what I want to call my book?
Well, my publisher's memoirs helped me decide, because I was trying to explain to them that I don't really know who I am. and just arguing the point with them, and they helped me come up with the title, which is perfect for me.
Can I go back to where we just left off a second ago? So this lady intervened, and she took you for a drive in the country.
Well, she had a house in town, and she had a house in the countryside, and I used to go quite regularly with her to play in the countryside with her son. And so we did what we normally did. We got in the car, etc., and off we jolly well went, as per usual.
But you didn't end up in the country, did you?
But I ended up with 600 other children in a home in Essex.
That must have been awful. What was that like for you?
Well, the biggest problem was when she left me.
Right.
She took me there. She left me. I was hysterical.
I can imagine.
Apparently, I didn't really talk for about a year. Very, very badly behaved.
Traumatic.
Traumatic.
So traumatic.
Traumatic. And this is really where I believe the mental health and the depression set in.
Sure.
And yes, sorry.
Did you have any contact with your father after that point? Your adopted father?
My adopted father, yes. After a period of time, they allowed us to see one another. And then they stopped us seeing one another again because it was so traumatic just leaving him. It was just weekends or one day at the weekend, and so in the end they stopped us for about 2 years.
So how long were you in the care system for then, Anna?
Actually, I was in the care system from 7 till I was 15. I went to look after my father. He then died. There was a lot of drama, which tells you in the book. They then took me back into care until I was 21 because I wasn't of age. So they literally dragged me back into care, kicking and screaming, I might add. Because by then I was 15, 16.
Of course.
Back into care, and of course I completely went off the rails.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Completely went off the rails.
So we hear all sorts of horror stories in the press about care homes and, you know, the kind of abuse that goes on there, which is horrific for somebody like myself who's been very fortunate in life to be brought up by both my parents, and, you know, we've had a relatively happy life. Are the horror stories correct?
When I was in care, I was never abused. I wasn't sexually abused.
Right.
But I was abused so far as there was no love. In Bernardo's, there was no love.
So you're in Bernardo's?
I was in Dr. Bernardo's.
Okay.
There was no love. There was 600 children, 60 cottages. We were surrounded by big walls, and love wasn't part of... No cuddles. No nighttime stories. No nighttime stories. If you cried, you were never asked, why are you unhappy?
Right.
Why am I here? That wasn't answered. That had a massive... So I never had love.
It's the most traumatic start to life.
Yes, it was.
Unbelievable. So you left care at 21.
I finally left care at 21 and went to live in Switzerland.
In Switzerland?
Yes.
How come you ended up in Switzerland?
I had a friend who happened to live there. I didn't know where Switzerland was. It was just not where Bernardo's was.
Yeah, as far away as possible.
But when I was in Switzerland, I was still monitored. They still monitored me.
What do you mean monitored?
Well, Bernardo still kept an eye, so once a month I would have to report to somebody when I was in Switzerland as well.
To let them know that you were fine and everything was okay?
Yes, I still had to report.
Okay, how long were you in Switzerland for?
I was in Switzerland for a year, then I went to Italy.
Wow.
And on the way back I went to France to live. Yeah. I lived in Italy also, yes.
Did you? Where did you live in Italy?
Milano.
Milano.
Si.
I used to live in Pescara in Abruzzo a long time ago. So you've travelled around Europe?
I've travelled around Europe.
And you came back to London?
When I came back, I back and forth, never settled.
Right.
Couldn't ever find anywhere to live because of the colour of my skin. Couldn't find a job because of the colour of my skin. It was quite bad in those days.
Really?
Of course. Oh yes. Oh, absolutely. Refused all the time.
I found that kind of
refused
unbelievable.
All the time. Yes.
So you live in Bristol now?
I live in Bristol now.
How long have you lived here?
I've lived here 10 years. I was in Jamaica for that before then, for 3.
Okay.
So
was all of this part of you trying to find your identity?
I think one of the problems with the lifestyle that I've had is that I actually can't settle.
Yeah.
I find it very hard to settle. I don't really know who I am. I'm always on the move. I've been in a place for 6-7 years. I need to go again. I need to do something else. When something like this has happened to you, it doesn't just end.
Of course.
Once you leave Bernardo's, it's not like, well, this is it.
Yeah.
It continues. You can carry on with your life and everything's fine.
Yeah.
But it continues for the rest of your life.
Have you managed to find... How about relationships? Have you managed to find love in your life?
I was married.
Yeah.
And I have 2 amazing children.
Wow.
Amazing children.
Wow.
My son, Leo, my daughter, Ruth. They are actually fabulous. And I have a granddaughter, Aaliyah.
Lovely.
But I'm not sure I'm not sure about love. I don't understand love. I don't understand. I'm married because I wanted to be married and have children. I wanted to have children in a marriage, not outside of a marriage.
How are you with your children? Are you able to be the parent that perhaps you dreamt of having yourself?
Yes, I think so. And one of the things that people always say is if you're in care, you have all sorts of issues. You can't, bring up kids. You can't do this, you can't do that.
Yeah.
It's been a bit hectic for my children, I might add.
Yeah.
It's been a bit hectic for my children, but unbelievable love for them.
Yeah.
Unbelievable love for them. Absolutely.
So there is a nice ending, if you like, to what started off as a horrific start to life.
Yes.
So tell us, what made you put pen to paper then, Anna? Because to say you're going to write a book and then to actually physically do it is something
since I've
different.
done this book, I've spoken to quite a few other, actually, mainly either people in care or black men and women who have all said, oh yeah, that happened. For me, it was therapy.
Right.
I needed therapy.
Yeah.
For me, it was therapy.
Okay.
And it, as I said earlier, it's a very small book.
Yeah.
But it took 4 years on and off to write.
It's not actually that small, Anna.
Is it not?
No, I mean
it's 100 and no.
Well,
sorry.
I'm part through it, and following on from what Sam said, what made you write it, and you said about therapy, because actually there are some quite shocking and disturbing things that happen to you in your life.
Yes.
And I noticed from talking to you before when you arrived is that you see this as it's been therapy right in the book, and it's been an experience that has bonded you and your children as well, because you were telling me before that your children didn't know many of the things that happened to you as you grew up. Is that right?
Yes, they knew some, but not the intimate things, no.
It must have been very difficult for them to read.
I think my son and my daughter will choose to read it when they are ready.
Yeah, you know what,
which is fair enough.
My dad wrote a book.
Yeah,
and
we're going to talk to him in a few weeks. You don't know this, yeah?
Okay, I didn't know that. No,
Yeah.
I'm only maybe a third of the way through it because I find it very difficult to read.
Anna, did you explain, though, without them reading the book, did you explain some of the key points? Because the worst thing would be, friends or other members of the family would have read the book and then spoken to your children about what happened to you without them knowing. So did you explain?
I explained a few, but they're both adults. I explained a few things. A lot of the things I haven't explained, no, actually.
Yeah. But they'll read it when they feel strong enough to be able to deal with
it. But the good thing about our family is that whatever they asked, and they have asked me things, I answer. I don't hide.
Truthfully.
I just say, yes, this did happen to me. Yes. I just answer when they ask.
Now moving on, just from the book. The book's been launched. It was launched successfully. I know that here at the station we supported the story and covered the story and supported the launch as well. Not a problem.
Absolutely marvellous.
It's part of what we all do.
I heard it went a storm.
It did.
Yeah,
absolutely brilliant.
Which is fabulous.
It was fabulous.
You must have been so proud of yourself.
It was well, yeah.
And your son made a speech at the launch as well.
Yeah, he made a speech.
Yeah.
He stood up and he just did it.
Excellent.
He passed out afterwards.
So what's the next stage for you? The book details your life kind of up until now or recently. I hear there are plans afoot for you to go to America to promote the book as well.
Yes, but because the writer is American.
Cool. So for you and that's Catherine Moore Cooper, who's your ghostwriter.
And she is the one that did the therapy.
Sure.
She is the one that just said to me, but I want to know that detail, and so some of the stuff which was so painful to me, she made me say it.
So what's the next stage for you, Anna?
The next stage is to go around the country and say, this is my book, these are my workshops, mental health's fine, being black's fine, being a woman's fine, being abused is fine.
You're not a victim, are you? You don't see yourself as a victim.
I'm here,
yeah.
and this is what I would do in my workshops and promote my book, but mainly say, come on, guys, that has happened to you, but actually it's happened to me as well. And
turning
look,
a negative into a positive.
Because we can all just carry on. Look at me, a big bad world. I'm going to carry on bad because everything's happened to me.
Sure.
And actually, you can't do that.
I totally commend you on this. Now, where can we get hold of your book, Anna? Because Christmas is coming up. I think it'd be a fabulous gift.
That's right. And I've already got some of my copies as well. Not telling who it's for, though. The book is published by Memoirs, who are based in Gloucestershire. But you can buy it via Amazon.
Okay.
And we're going to put a link on the Thursday Drive Time webpage after this show to the Amazon site so that you can get in touch. And I really do thoroughly recommend, it doesn't matter, you don't need to be from Bristol, you could be listening anywhere in the world, but if you work in the care system, if you're a nurse, if you're anybody that deals with issues of race, of mental health, of abuse, maybe you could learn something about reading this book simply because it's the experience of somebody that's been through it at a time when people maybe didn't really know enough about issues of race and mental health and abuse in care, especially for somebody like Anna, this black woman with a Jewish name, put in care from the age of 7. So health professionals need to read this book as well as the general public, and I guarantee you it will be a truly inspiring story for you.
It really is a beautiful book. It's called Who Am I Really? And it's by Anna Rosenburg. And as Patty said, you can get it on Amazon.
Brilliant.
Thank
Anna,
you so much for
really
joining
appreciate
us,
it.
I appreciate your time, both of you. Thank you very much.
You're coming back in a few months,
pleasure.
and we're gonna check on your progress.
Thank you very much.
Would you like a custard cream?
I would. Thank you. Thank you very much.